big expectations, playoff aspirations. The season starts tomorrow. It's going to be fun. Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savetich, and we have finally made it to opening day. By the time this recording comes out, opening day is tomorrow, but we've made it, okay? And we're happy. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a fun season. There's a lot of expectations with this season. So we are here at the season preview. We're going to break down the final roster and kind of talk about the two cuts that have been made. And I'm not saying they're official, but just basing it off of the final roster and looking at the roster itself. There is 25 with 3 inactive. Well, I should say 25, 2 inactive, and 1 disabled. So I don't know how that works itself out amongst the contracts and stuff like that. So this is what the roster looks like, and there's 2 people that were cut out of it, and yeah. So we'll run through kind of a bit of spring training, and spring training was kind of iffy this year. I didn't really get to watch or listen as much as I did last year. I think a lot of technical issues, but we'll get into that. I'll get into what I think the maybe what the rotation looks like, or what the starting or the opening day roster is going to kind of look like. I could be completely wrong, but we're all here to speculate. And then I'll kind of look at the Winnipeg series, the Winnipeg series, and kind of look at their roster a tad bit and see how that's going to go. It's going to be a fun opening day weekend, the festivities, all the other good stuff. So let's start off with the 2 cuts that had happened. Looking at the roster. And just kind of, I guess I'll just run through the starting pit or the pitcher's role. So Edward Cuello Jack Eisenbarger, Chris Irwin, Harrison Francis, Matt Leon, Ben Miller, Adi Nunez, Aaron Phillips, Rayson Santos, John Sheeks, Yohan Valdez, Julio Vivas, DJ Wilkinson. And then catchers Thomas Greeley, Marco Hernandez, infielder Sam Abbott, Goldeyes, which I'm really glad. I'll get to him. I'm glad that he made the roster. Daniel Ngual, Victor Nova, Emmanuel Tapia, Michael Woodworth. Outfielders LG Castillo, Francisco Del Valle, Jesus Mariaga, Dorsey Paulino, and then inactive Trevor Lupking, Carlos Martinez, and on the disabled list, which just was released today, Jared Price is on the disabled list. So that is the 25 current with the 3 in the inactive portion of it. And then so the 2 that got cut was Ramsey Urias and Sherman Graves. And I was really hoping Sherman Graves would get an opportunity to be back with this team, but I just, with the overload that they have in the infield, and the amount of power that is brought to at least first base, I think maybe he could have played a third base role or a third baseman role. But I think with Goldeyes coming in, and I think that was huge. I really think that Lamar Rogers was pushing the Rocky Mountain Vibes to really get that trade going, because I think that's something that Lamar Rogers, well, I mean, he basically had the best batting average in the Pioneer League, and I think he broke a single season record for highest batting average for the Rocky Mountain Vibes. I know they've only been around for 3 years, but they were affiliated at one point. So back into the independent ball portion of it, they have to go all the way back to when they were affiliated, kind of stuff. So it's just kind of hard, you could have maybe argued with Victor Nova, but I just looking at, I don't think they were going to give up Sam Abbott. Emmanuel Tapia seemed like he was doing really well. So it's just one of those that I think it was just hard that he was just kind of the odd man out. And it's not saying that, if this was the beginning of last year's roster, he would have been on it for sure. There's no doubt, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I just think that Lamar Rogers has sunk his teeth into what he wants the roster to look like, and this is what it's going to look like, and we're just going to kind of go from there. Like I said, I wasn't able to watch a lot of spring training because they had 2 games that were broadcast, and the Saturday game was my birthday, and I was working, and I was out to eat with my wife. So it was just one of those that I really didn't get an opportunity to kind of watch it. Um, you know, yeah, it was kind of a, a barn burner. Jack Eisenbarger didn't do the best opening. I don't think he's a starter. I don't think that's what Lamar Rogers was doing. I think Lamar Rogers is, maybe you wanted to, but I don't think that's the possibility. I think you just want to get some people some work. I think he may want to hold the starters off. Like I said, they had 4 spring training games, and then yesterday's spring training game was back at the Steel Yard, but I think they were having technical difficulties with the AA baseball TV because it kept looping on one of Sam Abbott's at bat. I couldn't listen to it on Mixler, so it was just kind of one of those I kind of gave up on it. So I don't really know. I can't really say what's going on or how the roster was constructed and what happened with that. Um, and then same thing with Ramsey Urias. I think it was just one of those that he was put in a tough spot with Thomas Greeley, Marco Hernandez, and Carlos Martinez because that's 4 catchers and I think if Carlos didn't get hurt, I think Marco Hernandez would have been booted or Thomas Greeley. I think it might have been Thomas Greeley, but I really like Thomas Greeley just because of more of a defensive catcher, that mindset. I just think it was one of those that Ramsey's still young. I really still hope he gets an opportunity somewhere, and if it's not in the American Association somewhere, because I think he would be a good pickup. Maybe that's along the lines of maybe something like Greg Taggart would pick up. That kind of person, or Lincoln may need a catcher or something. I think he still needs an opportunity. Sherman Graves I think still deserves an opportunity as well. I just think, when you were looking at the rosters, like who or where were you going to cut from? And those were the 2 main spots. I mean, that was there's a catcher's battle, and that's who came out of it, and that was the guy that was cut. And it's tough to say, it's tough to see at least that these players are being cut. But that's just the name of the game. It's the business of it, and it's just kind of tough on that aspect of it. Going into, I think I know that necessarily that not everyone cares about spring training or expedition games and that kind of stuff, but I kind of wish that there were more of expedition games, that they were broadcasted more of some sort to really get some of the kinks out for not just the broadcast sides of things and working all those kinks out. So I kind of wish that there was just more than 2 games that were broadcast. I kind of wish they kind of had a revolving door of something. If the American Association gets if it's just spring training games, just be able to broadcast them like YouTube or Facebook or something, so people can be able to watch it. I mean, it doesn't even have to be any audio to it or anything like that. Just to just be able to watch it, kind of a deal. To kind of have an interleague, if it's 2 weeks of it and you're playing people from a different division, that kind of, like I said, I don't know how they want to wrap that all into a pretty bow. I know they basically played people from the Frontier League, that kind of stuff, but it's just one of those, like, it's kind of hard from a standpoint of not being able to go to the games or watching, not even that. I mean, the RailCats didn't even say anything about exhibition games and where they were going to be at and this and that. So I kind of just wish that the organization and American Association in general would kind of take that next step forward and kind of build it even more, because it's kind of hard to understand what's going on if you're not able to watch the games and listen to them. So like, it's kind of hard for me to say, oh, this is what I think is going to happen, blah blah blah, this next. I have no idea. I don't know what the batting orders look like. I'm not sure what's going to happen. So I'm just going to throw a wild guess out there, just going off of last season and so on and so forth. And just starting at pitching, I think that, me personally, just the year that he had, I think Chris Irwin should get the start. But I think it might be Harrison Francis. I think Lamar Rogers might go with him. I know Edward Cuello. Well, let's take that back. It was Trevor Lupking that took them on the first game. But I think Edward Cuello was probably going to be that guy. But I just think, me personally looking, I think it should be Chris Irwin and then Harrison Francis. But who knows? That's going to be a kind of a toss-up on that aspect of it. Starting catcher, I think you would probably start Thomas Greeley. That's who I would have based mine off of, is Thomas Greeley. I think DH wise would probably be Marco Hernandez, but I think um, that might be Sam Abbott. He may roll in that DH role. So it might put Emmanuel Tapia there at first, and then Victor Nova at third. Daniel Lingual, Michael Woodworth, easy up the middle, not a problem there. I think it'll be LG Castillo, Jesus Maria, obviously in center field, and I think it might be Francisco Del Valle will be at right field. I think there might be a rotation at third with Dorsey Paulino and Victor Nova, even Goldeyes, that kind of stuff. I think there might be a rotation there on that aspect of it. But I just going back and looking at Gio, I just think that it's going to be hard with the one performance that I was able to watch him play and listen to against Schonberg Boomers, was that he was able to get on base. He drove in a run. I think he was like 2 for 2. A walk, a sac fly, that kind of stuff. Stole 2 or 3 bases. So I mean, that's a guy that's hard to get out of the lineup, and if he's going to produce like that, it's kind of hard not to see him in the lineup. I just don't know where they're going to slot him in. I would say maybe if you're not going to put, if you're not going to put Sam Abbott in a DH role, what does it matter if the DH doesn't, isn't hitting home runs all the time? It's a DH designated hitter, and if Goldeyes can hit, and that's the part of it, and his defensive abilities aren't as good as everyone else, then why not put him in the lineup? I know normally your DH is your power guy, that guy, but if he can hit the ball, that's in the name, a designated hitter. If he's going to get on base and going to hit the ball, then why not have him on base? He can be a designated hitter, leadoff guy. I mean, I don't know if they're going to go back to Michael Woodworth being that leadoff guy, but I just think that in the grand scheme of things, I think Goldeyes would be this. But now, obviously, I have no idea. Like I said, a lot of this was, it's kind of speculation, and kind of going off of that. So if I'm going to start with a lineup, this is based off of what knowing last year and how I would base things, just kind of looking at it this way. I would say I think what Lamar Rogers is going to do is I think Michael Woodworth is going to lead off at second. I think you're probably going to throw Emmanuel Tapia at third and bat him second. I think Daniel Lingual is going to be in third, going to hit third, shortstop. I think maybe I move Tapia over to first. And then I would probably have it's so hard. I would probably put Jesus Mariaga in fourth, center field. Dorsey Paulino would be that third baseman. I think then Sam Abbott at the DH role. Then I would probably go LG Castillo at left. That would be your sixth. Probably Thomas Greeley. That would be your seventh. Did I should really have wrote this down before before I came up with this. I'm just, I'm gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I said Woodworth, right? I think Woodworth would be at second. I think you're probably gonna throw Tapia in there, and he would be at third. Then probably Daniel Lingual, who would be at short. Probably Jesus Mariaga, which would be in center field. Then I think Sam Abbott as a DH. Then I would probably put LG Castillo, who would be in left. Uh, I Thomas Greeley. I'm gonna go with Thomas Greeley at catcher. Um, then probably first base is going to be. Um, I already had Tapia. Yeah, Tapia would be at first. Um, then probably throw in Paulino. Um, I think he was playing right field. Um, and then probably Victor Nova at third base. Now I could be wrong somewhere in that realm of things of thinking. Um, but me personally, I would probably stick Goldeyes as designated hitter, move Sam Abbott over to first, putting Michael or Victor Nova at third. I think Gio would give you that opportunity to be that nice leadoff guy. The outfield, I think, is just going to go LG Castillo, Jesus Mariaga, and then I think it's going to, kind of flip flop between Paulino and Del Valle in that aspect of it. So it'll be a little bit interesting on that aspect of it. But then, when we look at the Winnipeg roster here, I'm just going to kind of go over the former RailCats that are now with them. Josh Vincent, Chris Burgess, Jackson Smith, Tommy McCarthy, and then Javion Williams is over there as well. So that's just interesting to see a couple of, a handful of players that were on the open day roster last year are not, are now over with Winnipeg with Greg Taggart, and he also brought over Tom Thornton as well. I don't, just kind of basing it off of Saturday's game. Obviously, it's the retirement of Greg Taggart's jersey, doing a giveaway, this kind of stuff. I just think with this new era, I think the fan base, more or less, is going to take it more emotional. I think Greg Taggart's going to take it more emotional, but I don't really think the players on the team necessarily are, because basically, except maybe Daniel Lingual, Michael Woodworth, names aren't coming to my Jack Eisenbarger, Chris Irwin, Aaron Phillips, John Cheeks. I would say maybe those players are a little bit more emotional on that day, but I don't necessarily think that. I think they're just going to come down to business and they're just going to play their game, and it's just going to be what it is. I think it's going to be more for the fans, that kind of emotion. Greg Taggart, more emotion. I don't think Lamar Rogers is really going to give a care. No one else is going to. It's a new era. It's different. It's different. I think this is just a completely different situation for the teams in general. So I don't really expect Saturday to be kind of Saturday to be a little emotional, but I don't really think so. So it's going to be one of those. We'll see how it feels going on from there. But I mean, I I see, it's a 4 game series, playing Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, or my bad, I'm looking. That's the 3 game series, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Um, having that nice off day, Mother's Day being an early one, that kind of stuff. It could be either way. I know the RailCats really came out hard last year, kind of got to go off to a good start, kind of slumped down. I still think they'll become one of the good year. I just don't necessarily know what's going to kick off because the pitching really wasn't impressive. What I've heard, what I got snippets of the preseason spring training was that maybe the pitching quite wasn't there yet, but the grind, the not giving up aspect of it was still there. And I think that was the one positive from the team last year, was the ability to keep going and keep striving forward. And this is something I think the offense will be able to back that up. When the pitching isn't quite there, you're going to get that offense, and sometimes when the offense is there, the pitching is going to be there. So I think it's just going to depend what the season looks like and who's going to really drive forward in that aspect of it. I don't see why the RailCats couldn't take 2 out of 3 from Winnipeg. I think Saturday might be a little rocky one. To start off 2-3 would be great, especially going and playing Kansas City right. That's the next series in, and having 2 11 o'clock games. That series you may say, oh, if we take 1 of 3, then that's good on that aspect of it. I don't think I will ever say this is gonna. I'm not a big believer in saying that a series should be a sweep, because there's so many variables that happen, and sometimes a team gets hot. I don't like saying, oh, that should be a sweep or this should be a sweep. I'm looking at Lincoln, I'm like, oh, that should probably be a sweep. But I don't think I'm looking at it more as, are we going to win the series? Are we going to take 2 out of 3? And that's what I'm going to, there should be more winning series this year than there was last year, and that's all they got to do. They got to win series versus losing series or tying series or whatever the case may be. They need to find a way to win series, and this is a good way to start it. If we're gonna come out of this first 2 series evened up, I think that's good, because the beginning of the schedule is going to be rough. Kansas City is going to be rough. Kane County, Milwaukee, Sioux Falls, not so much. Cleburne is going to be a huge series at the Steel Yard. That's going to be a huge one. Sioux City, not so much. Lake Country, not so much. Fargo, Moorhead is getting later on. That's more towards into June, but I'm just saying the May is going to be a tough schedule. Not saying I think Winnipeg is going to be tough. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm just saying I think the way that the tides are shifting, I don't think Greg Taggart has the players that he wants for his system yet. So I don't think the team is necessarily going to be there yet for him. Now later on in the season it might be, but it's up for grabs. This one's it should be a 2 out of 3. I guess May's not typical. May, the first 2 series in May, and then the last series in May is going to be tough. But the next 2 after that, I don't think are necessarily should be losses. They should be able to win those as well. So big expectations, playoff aspirations. The season starts tomorrow. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. Wife and parents are coming Saturday, bringing my sister and her fiance with my parents, celebrating my birthday. Hopefully Saturday doesn't get rained out. I don't think the last time I looked it was supposed to be cloudy. It's not supposed to rain, but we'll see. But I'm excited. If you're excited, please let me know. Comment down, because I'll be around. Gonna interact. Gonna walk around. Have fun. Time with the game. It should be fun. But let's bold prediction here ish. Bold prediction. Okay. Just looking at last year's season. That's not what I want. I would just go to East. No, that's not gonna help me with anything. I'm sorry. I tried. Just looking at last year's regular season, the RailCats ended 42-58. We're gonna flip that around. 58-42. We're gonna make it to the playoffs. Okay, maybe not 58-42. All right, maybe, but I just don't know. Let's just tame it down a little bit here. Let's go nice 52-46 and flip-flopping with Cleburne. All right, I don't think we would necessarily. I mean, Cleburne went 15-50 last year, so if we would have won, even if you go 51-49, you'd make the playoffs last year. But I'm going to go with the 52-48. 52-48. That's what I'm going to go. 52-48 this year. And we're going to make the playoffs, and it's going to happen. Simple as that. But that's going to wrap it up for this season preview, wrap it up for this podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Spotify, follow me on all the places that you want. Whatever is available, follow me on there. Comments, all that good stuff. Can't wait to see you at the Steel Yard. It's going to be a fun season. If you enjoyed the podcast, like I said, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, and hopefully I'll see you at the Steel Yard tomorrow. And remember, go Cats.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Wrap this one up in green and